Well, I'm Avril and I am in the same cohort as Joe. In our third year of the MA on our last project, and my research has been on adolescent voice change for CCM singers. And I have a private voice teaching practice and I own theatre schools for children and young people in Kent and East Sussex. And I also teach in a dyslexia school one day a week in a peripatetic capacity. So a lot of the work I do is with young people, a lot of teenagers, although in my private practice I also teach adults. I suppose the majority of the people I work with are young people. And I noticed that a lot of adolescents give up singing. This is a time when they tend to drop out. And adolescence, puberty occurs roughly between the ages of 10 and 16. And I wondered if the reason that we were seeing this drop in enthusiasm and them wanting to not sing anymore was to do with this is the time of voice change. And I wanted to research the existing, see what the existing research said about why this might be. Obviously there's a psychological side to they're going through adolescence, there's lots going on in their life, and there's the physiological changes that are going on with the voice at this time. So that was the focus on my research, and I started looking into girls because I felt that the change was smaller and perhaps their needs were being overlooked, because we think about boys and their voices lowering an octave, which is a huge change, and the mechanism grows 65%. But then I also looked into male adolescent voice change as well. So pre-puberty, the male and female larynx are the same size, and then they hit puberty and these changes all come into play. So that was what my research was all about. The symptoms of voice change, not everyone experiences all of them. Some may experience some, and you just don't know what is going to happen. So there could be breathiness, huskiness, loss of range, loss of power, strain, and this is the time when the registers appear, which is what a lot of Joe's research is about, I know, vocal registers. So that was the physiological side of voice change. It's a gradual process and can happen in spurts. And John Cooksey identified 5 stages of voice change in boys, and Lingackle identified 4 phases in female voice change. And these are both well-respected kind of stages, phases of the changes for boys and for girls. But you don't know when those stages are going to happen. And one of the things that I wanted to investigate was the fact that a lot of this research is based on classical choral singers, singers from choirs. They've started with a high treble voice and they've been singing the soprano line, and then the change is tracked as they move into their different position in the choir. And I felt there's a lack of research in CCM, contemporary commercial music, and musical theatre, because what you will see is people who are having perhaps private lessons for exams, or they're in groups doing musical theatre singing at a theatre school, and so it's a different setup, it's a different way of singing, and you can't find a lot of research for those kind of singers. And you only have to look at Cooksey's table, and you see the pre-maturation voice is full and rich, and it gives a rough range. And then once you get to stage 3, you're at the climax, and it refers to the evolving baritone. So it's all of the use of the classical terminology, and it's very similar with how the female voice is referred to. So I felt there's very much a gap in the research, and that if you teach CCM and musical theatre, you are perhaps working with voices who are coming to you and they're already in phase 3 and they haven't even explored that high voice. They've never sung there. So do they need the same approach? Do they need the same training? We're not sure, because there isn't any research available on that. So that's why I felt there was a gap in the research, and it perhaps needed more investigation. So adolescence is a difficult time for young singers. Singing teachers in the UK are not formally trained or regulated, so you're just having to pick a way that you think might suit, and do your own research and read books and think, well, I'm just going to go with that way. There's just a lack of systemic pedagogy in CCM singing generally. It's not just when working with young voices. And Bridget Sweet said in her study in 2015, there needs to be more research into the experience of voice change, which also is looking at the psychological impact. So we mustn't forget that aspect of it as well. So what I'm gathering from all of this research that I've been doing is that in order to keep young people singing, we need to get more understanding of the process within the CCM setting, which is the area that I work, and then we'll be able to help them through those changes more smoothly, and hopefully have a more positive result and have more people singing into adulthood.